Let's move over to Houston. Willie Fritz in his first year. He's got a brand new staff. What do you have for us on the staff over there at Houston?
Yeah, listen, Kevin Barbay is spread guy coming over from Mississippi State in 2023. They're bringing over a couple of Tulane guys, Sheil Wood, running the 4-2-5, I believe, and just bringing in special teams coordinator Mike Crizzle from Tulane as well, along with Derek Sherman, the wide receiver coach, and the DB coach, or one of the DB coaches as well, Joshua Christian Young. And even reuniting with Emin Naghavi, right? He was a guy that is the only mainstay on the Houston staff from the Dana Holgerson era. He was with Tulane and Willie Fritz in 2022. Kind of interesting how it becomes full circle just like that. But I like this staff. I mean, they did good things at Tulane, and I think they're going to do good things at Houston. Maybe not in year one, but in terms of building the program for sustained success in the Big 12, absolutely. And what say you?
Well, I think Willie Fritz is a great coach. Uh, it's not going to happen this year, though. It won't. That's fine. I do want to look at the quarterback room, though, and it's interesting because compared to some other quarterback rooms in the Big 12, this is not bad. This is not a bad
No.
situation to have. Donovan Smith is, I'll say, likely going to be your starter. Zion Chris, still a very, very talented, very, very athletic player. We saw that at Louisiana last year in the Sun Belt. And his explosiveness and his ability to make plays and extend them. I think both of those quarterbacks are pretty good. I'm of the opinion that Donovan Smith is not bad. Okay. Donovan Smith has played a lot of football. He's been put in very tough positions his entire career. He's been put in
Mhm.
tough positions. And there's some games that he's found ways to win, including like Texas he almost beat Texas last year. There was a bad spot on the field that basically cost them the game. It's pretty ridiculous. So I do think Donovan Smith can get some stuff done. I mean, he had 600 yards on the ground, 2,000 yards through the air, 22 passing touchdowns to only 13 interceptions. Now that's a decent amount of interceptions, but um, I still believe in Donovan Smith. I really do. Obviously, he's in your bottom quarter of quarterbacks in the Big 12, probably, but that might just speak to the depth of the quarterback position in the Big 12 to maybe previous years, you know?
I think it says more about that than it does the player that is Donovan Smith. I mean, he's 6'5", 235. What's not to like, right? Can do it on the ground as well. But and yeah, dude, I'm a fan of Zion Chris. I'm a guy that in year one with Fritz, I do not think it's crazy to see Zion Chris start games
You saw him live,
over a
didn't you?
healthy Donovan Smith. Yes, he came up from Louisiana, came up to Minnesota this past season, and he was electrifying. I know PJ Fleck was a guy that really wanted him kind of out of that portal window, and because he saw him live, how well he did. And if he's gonna back up a quarterback, back up a seventh, eighth, 20th year senior, or that is Donovan Smith, come out to Minnesota and back up Max Prosper. But reality is he chose Houston, he chose Willie Fritz, and I think that their staff is glad to have a guy like him. And they're familiar with him too, right? They're not far from
Mm-hmm.
the Raging Cajuns there from Tulane.
Yeah. So now we get to the part of the roster that, people maybe aren't so high on, right? The running back room, Parker Jenkins could be pretty solid, right? And they have some other spots in there. I don't know what the sharing of the backfield is going to look like. I would like to believe that Parker Jenkins, as a true sophomore, who was pretty good last year in true freshman role, I would like to believe that he improves and that he takes over that role as the main guy in that backfield. Um, However, Stacy Sneed and Tony Mathis Jr. could definitely get some carries. I think they both each got about half the amount of carries that Jenkins got last year, but we'll see. We'll see what that running back room looks like. But I want to go straight to the wide receiver room and just say it hurts to lose guys like Sam Brown, Matthew Golden, even Dalton Carnes, who honestly got some good snaps as a true freshman. I just Look, Joseph Manjack is pretty good. Okay, he just came off of a 500-yard season. They got Mekhi Muse from Georgia. Great story there. Okay, but I don't think he's the same talent level as Sam Brown or Matthew Golden. You know, I do think Marquis Shoulders is very interesting portal get from Tulsa. I think he's got a lot of interesting qualities to him. I think he could stand out in this wide receiver room for sure. I think Malik Carr at tight end is a very good get that they got from Michigan State. If people don't remember, he was their second leading receiver last year. So I do think they did well getting Malik Carr there in the portal. And I do, again, Marquis Shoulders, pretty decent. I don't know how good Mekhi Muse is going to be, though. Well, he was effective, though, last year for Georgia in a special teams role. So but we'll see. I mean, did you have any other thoughts in this receiver room other than like, man, it could have been really good this year to like, they maybe just patch this up just good enough.
You're relying on a couple transfers, and that's not ideal. And obviously, it sucks when you lose guys like Matthew Golden and Sam Brown, and you're kind of scrambling to replace him. And Joseph Manjack, I like him. Right, he's a guy doesn't wear gloves, by the way. That is awesome. That is awesome.
That is
Very
awesome.
reliable guy. But beyond that, a lot of questions. Marquise Shoulders, you mentioned him. I do like him. I expect him to take a step up and probably be that second player, uh, potential second guy on that roster. He graded out really well last year for Tulsa, along with his running mate there, Devin Williams, as well. But we'll see. I do think with Smith's frame and his rushing ability, as well as Zion Chris as well. And I do like Parker Jenkins. I think he'll take a step this year, going to year two. I think you're going to run the football, and Willie Fritz does. I mean, he was like they've ran the football well there at Tulane, and I think that's going to probably be the focal point of this offense. But I do want to mention a guy like Malik Carr, your tight end there, bringing him in from Michigan State. He's a guy that they're pretty darn excited about, and what he can do for them. In addition, maybe maybe a weaker wide receiver room, and you can kind of use him to create some big plays or spark plays in your passing offense.
Let's move over to the offensive line then. It wasn't an amazing year for the offensive line, right? But they also lose a ton. I mean, look, they're 45th in PFF in their pass blocking grade, 60th in run blocking, and it was highlighted by Patrick Paul,
Yeah,
who was
he's
phenomenal.
gone. Yeah, he's
But
gone.
he's gone. See ya. Gone to the NFL, taken in the second round. So Tank Jenkins is the only guy on this squad that is returning. And they brought in 4 transfers in the offensive line, but I don't think any of them are going to start. I think this might just be the backup offensive line from last year.
Which is not ideal. Well, I'll say this: I don't quite know. At least there's familiarity with the coach, right? I mean, like I said, um, like Javi, he was there last year, and so he knows those guys, and they understand Donovan Smith. They got a relationship with Parker Jenkins as well. So at least there's continuity with themselves too. If they're running on the second team in the twos, they know how to play side by side. But it's I don't want to say it's doom and gloom, but it's not quite exciting. You want as a fan, right? You want to see, oh, this new transfer we got, this new recruit, blah blah blah. Like these are the guys that are gonna save us. It's not fun and shiny to see. Oh well, there's this senior that's from Louisiana Monroe, Peyton Dunn, that's gonna play for us next year. Guy like Hobdy Lee, guy from FIU as well. He's gonna play for us next year after being in our program for a couple years now. It, but it's reality, all right? It's the reality. You got to build off of Tank Jenkins and see where you get.
I think this offensive line is going to be terrible.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really bad. But we'll see. I've been proven wrong before many
How how
times.
do you how do you combat that though? Right, it's running quarterback. You got Don Smith is a big dude. Zion Chris, you add an extra defender in that box. You and obviously helps with your numbers wise, doing the RPO stuff. And with Mississippi State last year, you saw them, they used Jaquavius Marks out of the backfield, right? I mean, they did some fun stuff, but
Yeah, you're gonna have to get really Barbay is gonna have to be in his bar bag. I mean, you need to I mean screens, but like that's the thing, like that's the thing. People are like, oh, I run a terrible offense, so I'm gonna run a screen. Like, yeah, you gotta find a way to produce offense without having to run screens on every third down, right? And because that's bad offense. That's not how you
yeah,
run an offense. Um, so we'll see. The offense scares me because of that offense line. It really does. It really does. Now it's nice. Like, thank goodness that they got some of those transfer guys. But tell me, Jake Wiley's gonna be no, no, like this offensive line is terrible. All right, that moves us to the defense of side of the ball, where you have your defensive front, right? You lose Nelson Caesar, right, and Jamari Caldwell. Jamari Caldwell, he's in Oregon now. Very good
yeah.
football player. All Big 12
Hmm.
guy, both of those guys. So what are your thoughts on the defensive line? I mean, you get Keith Cooper, which
You
is
love
nice.
that. That
All
is
Willie
massive.
Fritz. That was huge.
We'll see how Anthony Holmes does taking the next step in year two of significant playing time. He had 3 sacks a year ago. I like Quindario Lee. He's a guy they brought in. He's not going to be like, this massive, um, game-changing player for you in your defensive line, but I do think the versatility he brings. He was once a Minnesota commit. They were pretty high on him, and the versatility that he brought, defensive tackle, defensive line, inside out, what you can do, on early downs, maybe playing outside, stopping the run, maybe on third down, rushing the passer, you can move them inside and get your other speed guys off the edge there. So we'll see. Again, you mentioned those losses; they're big time, and we'll see what happens there. But outside of Keith Cooper, not a lot of proven, high talent guys you feel really, really good about. It might just be a committee, and I guess you got a bunch of upperclassmen there that you feel pretty good about using, I guess. But other than that, it could be tough. And this is another D line, man, another D line in the Big 12. That's a question mark, not a strength. And with all these
Yeah,
good
I feel
running
like
backs,
it's either or. You're like you got that UCF interior D line, or you got that Iowa State or that Kansas State, and you're out here. You're in poop land, you know. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't love this defensive line, which leads me to the linebackers, which
it's
I'm
better.
yeah, it's better. Still some projection there though, I guess. Not really. I
Well, Corey Platt, you feel pretty good about his floor, what he can do,
mhm,
being pretty familiar with the Tulane staff.
yeah. I'm trying to remember who they had at linebacker last year, but uh,
Jamal Moore's played a little bit.
well, yeah, he played.
Malik Robinson had 81
Oh, that's
tackles
right,
for
that's right,
you.
that's right, that's right. And you lose him. So yeah, I mean, the linebacking core could be all right. It's also not
Kendrick
going to mean
Grant, though, I
anything.
like him from Louisiana. Another guy
Okay.
coming from Louisiana. He's a disruptive playmaker, and that's how I'll describe him.
Yes, but
Um,
would you describe him as like an edge guy, or would you describe him like is he like what is he going to do for this defense?
I think he'll be stand up, but I think you can push, rush him off or rush him from the second level. You can move him around. But I think on early downs, I think he'll be playing off ball, at least I believe. But that's I guess that'll be waiting to see. They're running that 4-2-5, right? So
No, I guess they haven't listed as Mike, so okay, yeah, I believe it. I'll ride with you. I think the linebacking core could be pretty decent. Uh, now let's go to the secondary then.
oh,
Last year, okay, um, it wasn't the worst, but it was third downs, man. And Houston fans, you'll agree with me. It was just this was a bottom 10 team in the country in allowing third downs per game, right? Or third down percentage, right? I mean, it was just big moments. Like third down, like it feels like a very volatile stat, right? Because it's like one down, but 48% conversion rate on third down.
Jeez, man.
That is so bad. That's so
Not really
bad.
many football games doing that. Yeah. Is that, can I ask you a question here? Is that just like, I know over the season, it probably leans to, hey, this is an actual systematic problem or whatnot. But, or is it just like they just got unlucky, or is it a little bit of both maybe?
I'll give you a couple stats. All right. Um, Completion percentage, 68% allowed. Yikes. That was 129th in the country, bottom five in the country. So it just sounds like the average yard per completion was only 11.7 yards, which was actually top 50 in the country. So it makes me believe that the DBs, were playing up or not playing up. They were able to come up and make the tackles, but it was a matter of like people were just able to dink and dunk down the field, and they put themselves in a lot of third and shorts. I'd have to go see what the actual stat was of the actual third downs. Like, what was the actual average depth of every third down for this Houston team? It, I think it would certainly put a lot of things into context, but defense was not good last year, and I think it's about to get worse, man. I think it's about to get worse. So, what are your thoughts on the secondary?
Well, it's not, I mean, you bring in a ton of transfers. Kristen Davis, I like from Southern. We'll see how he adjusts, to playing Big 12 football. Kentrell Webb comes over from Tulane. You like that? I guess he's from Tulane. I guess you like that, right? AJ Halsey, he had good production for you. Uh, I don't know, man. I really don't know. Latrell McCutcheon is a guy, is a former high recruit coming back to Texas at cornerback. We'll see how it pans out this year. I do think if you're relying on him and JD Rhyme and Jeremiah Wilson, all these transfers, I don't think that's where you want to be. I really don't. And I know you mentioned how bad it was last year, and it can't get worse, right? But I don't know if it got much better. I really don't. I guess change is good change, and maybe the new scheme with new players and whatnot, it definitely, you know, what they did at Tulane was pretty impressive. They find some magic there in year one with Willie Fritz. I don't know, but again, there's a lot of questions, not a lot to feel really good about for Houston, other than AJ Halsey. But I mean, if your safety is your leading tackler by 16 tackles, he's making 97 a year, 98. That's not ideal. That's not ideal. And it's kind of what it was last year for this defense.
Man. And then I look at the schedule, and I don't really see a single like layup game on the schedule when I look at it. UNLV at home. I think they'll win that game. I really do. I know you're high on UNLV, but I really do believe that they'll win that game. At Oklahoma, Rice at home, who they lost to last year. At Cincy, Iowa State at home. At TCU, bye week. Kansas at Arrowhead. Utah at home. Kansas State at home. Bye at Arizona. Baylor at home. At BYU. Whoa. I mean, their win total is 3.5, and it's juiced to the over.
Sheesh, man. 3.5.
3.5. It's juiced to the over. And when I look at it, I'm like I look at this roster and I'm like, I I do not see them winning more than 3 games.
You're gonna have to win you get to win 2 games in the Big 12, and you're looking at Baylor, you're looking at Cincinnati, um, at BYU. I
But
mean,
Cincinnati on the road,
yeah,
okay.
and those are winnable games for
At
sure, but it's
BYU
not.
in Provo.
Here's the thing: I feel good about Baylor getting better than last year. I feel good about Cincinnati. We both do getting better than last year. Even BYU taking a step here and there. I don't know if Houston got better than last year. And I think their coaching staff, and I love Willie Fritz and what he can do long term there. But
If they win 5 games, I will be immensely impressed. I'm gonna take the under at plus 135.
I'll go as well. I'll go under as well.